Now this is a challenge and an opportunity. So we're entering the age of AI, and it seems to have just hit us with no warning. This is why. So all technologies go through this curve. It is the valley of disappointment, followed by a sudden surge, which creates challenges, but also stress. So AI has been under development for a really long time. You're used to talking to ChatGPT, but the first chatbot, a bot called Eliza, was actually invented in 1962. We don't really hear about it because it was mainly crap. It just didn't really function the way we are used to. And for the longest time, chatbots and AI were really just kind of crappy. And so when we thought about AI, we were not really impressed. And then in 2023, OpenAI launches ChatGPT, and it's somehow magically impressive. It becomes the fastest adopted technology in history. More people jump on it in months than Facebook or the iPhone. And as wild as that was, it's about to accelerate. So we just went from what is called the Valley of Disappointment to a curve that represents insane opportunity, but also insane stress. Now in my case, I had this funny encounter with AI about a year ago. So I was already using AI, I thought it was pretty cool, but a year ago something happened that really shook me as an entrepreneur. So I just moved to Dubai and I was trying to furnish my apartment. So in Dubai there's this giant mall called Dubai Mall. It is massive. This mall is as big as many Caribbean countries. Like you need a map to navigate it. So my apartment's next to Dubai Mall, so I want to go to Dubai Mall to buy stuff for my apartment. I needed a toilet plunger, a coffee machine, a Wi-Fi router, a backpack, I needed some batteries, I needed a frying pan. I made a whole list. And I'm thinking, my God, I hate shopping, this is just gonna waste my day. So I decided to take my shopping list, put it in ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, tell me what stores to go to, and tell me how to do it in the least amount of time possible. Now this is what happened. Firstly, I was shocked. It told me exactly what store to go to based on the entrance closest to me, where to go from that store to the next store, what to pick up from each store. But then it said something that really kind of frightened me, but also amazed me. It said, and by the way, buy the backpack first, because if you buy the backpack, you can carry the other items in the backpack. Now this really shocked me because it wasn't as smart just a few months ago. It told me to buy the backpack first, and then it got even smarter. It said, and then buy the lighter stuff, and then the heavier stuff like the Wi-Fi router, buy that last, because it knew I was walking home. When this happened, I realized, oh my God, the intelligence of this thing is growing so fast. I called up my COO that very moment, and I said, I want us to stop all hiring. This is going to make hiring unnecessary. Now, I employed 400 people at that point, and I began to understand that this was going to change the rules of building a company. Today, we know this is true. More and more companies are laying off employees. More and more companies are completely stopping hiring. Now, most of you don't have to worry about this because you're entrepreneurs. What I want you to see is the opportunity here. Peter Diamandis, the same futurist who said we're going to see this exponential change, also said the next billion-dollar companies are going to be built by teams of 1, 2, or 3 people because of AI. I was talking to a woman over lunch and she said, you know, she was here with a business partner. If you know who I'm talking about, stand up and raise your hand. She said, yes, you right there. She said, we're so excited right now because with AI, we're able to do so much more with such a smaller team, and it's making my odds of entrepreneurial success better. So this is a huge opportunity. But this is what people still don't get. Okay, so let's look at this graph. This graph says AI price to performance doubles every 3.3 months. So what this means is every quarter, AI is essentially doubling in power. So think about that for a moment. If it's doubling in power every quarter, the ChatGPT that you know 1 year ago, it's now 16 times more powerful. Okay, it goes in the first quarter, it goes from 1 to 2, then 2 to 4, then 4 to 8, then 8 to 16. Simple math, right? It's 16 times more powerful. But here's a wild question. If it's doubling in power every 3.3 months, how powerful will AI be in 5 years? Scream it out loud. Just say your calculation. Don't use your calculator, you cheaters. Don't use AI. Just scream it out loud. Numbers. I want to hear numbers. 1,000, 100. What else? 300. What else? That's the correct answer. If something is doubling every 3 months, in 5 years, it is 1 million times more powerful. This is called exponential growth. Our human minds cannot grasp exponential growth. We just can't. And so we become unaware of it. We ignore it. But exponential growth literally means that as amazing as AI is today, in just 5 years, it's going to be 1 million times more powerful. And that's why today, the people who are really studying AI, we don't even know, we can't even predict what the world is going to be 1 year from now, because it's moving lightning fast. What will AI look like when it's 1 million times more powerful? And by the way, you guys are still going to be alive during this era. We are literally stepping into the era of science fiction. So that's how the math works out. You can check this out on your calculator. Now, it gets weirder. So I just got back from Singularity University in Palo Alto. It's a university that teaches people exponential technologies and teaches executives how to prepare for this changing world. And one of the things they said was that quantum computing is now officially here. We are about to enter the age of quantum computing. Now, do you guys know what quantum computing is?
Yeah.
This is wild. Have you guys heard of Moore's Law? Moore's Law basically says that the power of a computer doubles every 2 years. Okay, so the early computers were super basic, but it doubles every 2 years. So today, all of you here with an iPhone have more computing power than what the US government had in 1969 when they landed a man on the moon. Except we aren't using it for space discovery, we're using it for frickin' Instagram. But we all have more computing power than NASA in 1969. That's about to accelerate. Quantum computing. So what you're seeing there is a quantum computer at IBM. Google claims that its new quantum computer uses multiple universes to do the calculations. So the calculations are not just happening in our reality, they are happening in multiple universes. This is really unimaginable to wrap our minds around. But because of this, while Moore's Law said that computers double in power every 2 years, quantum computing is doubling every 6 months, which means it's 16 times more powerful than Moore's Law. So what this means is that if you plot this against a graph, quantum computing means AI is going to get even more powerful, even more cheaper. It's going to become instantaneous, and it's going to become insanely cheap. Because of this, we're entering the future faster than we know. So what will the world look like in 5 years? Okay, let's look at what some of the pioneers are saying. Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, says that we are moving towards super intelligence. Super intelligence means AI that is smarter than all the human beings on Earth put together. It's smarter than all 9 billion of us. And some people are worried that this might pose an existential threat. I'm more of an optimist, and you'll see why in a moment. So in the future, we're going to start seeing AI in different ways. We're going to see what is called agentic AI. I'll explain that in a moment, and how you can start using it. And I'm going to show you how to build a very simple agentic chat that can act as an employee in your company. And it's crazy smart. And then you're going to see embodied AI, which is basically AI as robots. This is wild. Any Star Wars fans here? C-3PO and R2-D2 are coming to your home in the next 5 years. So, Jensen Huang, amazing visionary. He started NVIDIA. He gave a lecture in January, and he put this graph on the screen. And he showed how AI is evolving. So it started with perception AI, which is speech recognition. It's the AI that helps a Tesla car navigate. Then we go to generative AI, that's generating images, generating text, generating music. We're now in agentic AI. So agentic AI is AI that can do complex tasks. I'll explain in a moment. And we're about to go to physical or embodied AI. Let's break it down one by one, okay? So The AI that you're used to is generative AI. We use generative AI like ChatGPT to create emails, to create articles. Generative AI can also create music and art. There's this famous scene from the Will Smith movie, I, Robot, where Will is really pissed off at a robot. I can't remember what the robot did to him, but he tells the robot, you know, you think you're so smart, but you will never make poetry, you will never create music, you will never create art. That is the domain of us humans. Well, I, Robot, the movie was wrong, because AI right now can generate art, can generate music, can generate really good poetry. We'll see some examples. Agentic AI is where we started entering this year. Now, with ChatGPT and what it can do right now, because they just released an update that allows O3 to be able to access the web, to generate higher quality images, you can build agentic AI on ChatGPT. So an AI agent is basically an AI that can do the job of an employee. So let me give you an example. How many of you here run advertising for your company? On Instagram, or Meta, or YouTube? Okay, I see a lot of hands raised. So an AI agent could basically come up with an idea for your ad, and then run the ad, then come up with variations of the ad, and then study the variations and see which ones are doing better, and then talk to Meta or YouTube, put the ad up, put a budget, analyze the ad, kill the ad if it doesn't work, add more money if the ad is working, and report back to you at the end of the day. And to do stuff like that, I can tell you, employees don't do it as well as AI. That's an AI agent. And AI agents are why many of you are going to be able to build massive companies with teams of 1, 2, or 3. But this is where it gets a little bit wilder. As I said, we're about to enter the world of Star Wars, physical AI. So physical AI is interesting. This was a screenshot from the lecture I just came back from at Singularity University. These are all the robots being built in the world today. By the way, if you look at this chart, and this is Copyright Singularity Group, the majority of them are actually being built in China. This is really interesting, right? When we think of China, we think China has low-cost laborers, people who are paid very little, who are abused, assembling your iPhones and your Nikes. That's not true. In China, robots are creating products. The Chinese products that you're buying are overwhelmingly created by robots. This is actually a robot factory. There's a viral video going on right now of Xiaomi, the Chinese cell phone. They have factories where the entire phone is manufactured by robots, and guess what? Robots don't need light, so the factories are completely dark. They even save on lighting to get you the cheapest, most cost-efficient phones possible. So this is, even our perception of how the world functions is changing so rapidly. Now, there's a theory, in addition to industrial robots, many companies are working on robots that will be able to help you with your household chores. I see one lady there really excited. She must really hate vacuuming. Right, so here's the thing, right? Household robots are a very tricky thing, because remember, these are electronic devices. What if they fall on a dog or a cat or a child? What if you touch it and it closes its hand and your finger gets trapped? So this is pretty dangerous. So household robots are really a whole different thing. Now, what's really interesting is, while industrial robots are becoming more commonplace, more and more factories are replacing workers with robots. With household robots, it is very likely that the first robots are going to be sex bots. I know this sounds bizarre, but it is likely the sex industry that is going to bring robots to the home. Now, hear me out here. This is a fascinating thing that people don't talk about in polite society, but the sex industry has led to many of the biggest innovations, from VHS versus Betamax. So Betamax was a better way of tape recording, but Sony refused to allow porn films on it. VHS allowed it, so VHS became the official default that all of us use. Same with the early internet, credit card payments, webcams, virtual reality, cryptocurrency. All of these technologies emerged because of lonely, horny men who were bored. And so it's very likely that the first robots are going to be sex bots because to design a robot to have in your home, the robot has to be super light so it doesn't fall on your dog and kill it. And the robot has to have a safe skin so that your finger doesn't get trapped in it, right? So what's happening in China is China's launching sex bots, and to do that they have to create a new type of synthetic skin, a new type of synthetic muscles that actually make the robots light. And so it's really fascinating, but the first robots might actually be robots that help men, because China has 30 million more men than it has women. So it's actually a situation with their country's demographic. Now, how will being human evolve as all of these technologies come together? There's a dark side and there's a positive side. The dark side looks like this. With AI, with robotics, we have so much free time that we decide to invest that free time in virtual worlds or video games, completely cut off from each other. That might happen. In fact, it's happening a lot right now. Many of you, like me, might have teenage kids who are hooked on video games. Or many of you might be hooked on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Those algorithms, by the way, are designed to hook you, and they are all based on AI that understands exactly what's going to make you stop, click, and watch. But there's another way the world might evolve, and that is we might enter a new era of human flourishing, because AI simply makes us smarter and makes us manifest faster by shortening the time from idea to reality. The most important thing I think we're going to see in the next few years is the 3-day work week. I believe weekends are going to double. We're going to go from just having Saturday and Sunday to finally, do our laundry, spend time with our kid, go and take a walk in the park, to have 3 days of work a week and a 4-day weekend. And I think this is a really good idea. The reality is, work week hours have been shortening already since 1870. Except something happened to America in 1970. People started to increase work hours. But we're already in a trajectory to reduce working hours. What we're going to see right now is in both Europe, the US, and the rest of the world, working hours are going to continue falling. We'll very likely reach a 3-day work week, and I think that's going to be a blessing for everyone. How many of you here like that idea? So, I was talking to a lady, and she told me, AI is making me lazy. How many of you here would agree with that?
No.
AI is making you lazy.
No.
I beg to differ. I think almost all of us as human beings are stupidly overworked. Like, where did we come up with this idea that 70% of our waking hours should be spent at work? What soul decided, I want to be born as a human being so I can clock in at 9 a.m., clock out at 5 p.m. That's not the point of being human. The point of being human is to connect, to discover the world, to raise children, to experience love, to create. By shortening working hours and getting rid of this stupid label that we have to be productive for 40 to 45 hours a week, we can create a new era of human flourishing. So how will we get to this new world? Now, firstly, while there are many people who say AI can be dangerous, this is where I really think AI is going to go. Okay, so a couple of things. It's going to be able, because it's going to be 1,000,000 times more powerful, to help us detect and cure major diseases. Cancer will very likely be eradicated because of AI. It's going to help us end global hunger by being able to allow us to manipulate crops so that they grow in unique surroundings, by helping us create vertical farms. It's going to unlock clean, infinite energy. So energy is going to be super cheap. Solar, wind, and so on. It's going to reinvent education. I'll show you some examples later. It's going to help us restore and protect the planet. While I believe global warming is a serious threat, I believe we will be able to end it and reverse it in the next 50 years because of AI. So our children are actually going to inherit a greener, healthier world. So let's look at some examples, right? AI for your health. I'm going to teach you something that I did recently because a doctor pissed me off. And again, anyone here who's a doctor? Okay, I am not in any way bashing doctors, but I need to share this story because it's real and it shows you the capacity of AI. So this is a story of how AI beat my doctor. Now, first, a preface. 2 years ago, a study was done. It was published in the JAMA medical journal, and it showed this. They tested a real doctor with chatbots. 75% of the users said this. They said that the chatbots had better empathy than the doctor. And the chatbots were more accurate than the doctor. Now look at these graphs. That is a significant increase in empathy. 75% preferred the chatbot, said this AI really understood me and my pain better than my doctor. But the chatbots were also more accurate. Now, I want to share with you a story that shows you how real this is. So, firstly, keep in mind, that was 2 years ago. How much has AI improved in 2 years? If it's doubling every 3 months, it's now 256 times more powerful. So the AI we have now is even significantly more empathetic and accurate than a doctor. Okay, so this is what happened. I show up to Palo Alto about 3 weeks ago, and my eye is infected. I'm having I don't even know what was going on, but my eyelid was half closed, I couldn't see, so I need to get this medication. My friend who's a doctor told me exactly what to buy. The problem is, I couldn't buy it without a prescription. So I had to find a doctor on ZocDoc. I got a doctor, and I booked an appointment thinking the doctor's gonna see me, the doctor's gonna look at my eye, gonna give me the medication. The doctor calls me and goes, what's going on? And I go, oh, I think I got this sty in my eye, my eyelid's heavy. The doctor doesn't ask any questions, doesn't ask for a photo, says, you probably just need this medication. I'll send you a prescription. Where's the nearest pharmacy? I give him the nearest pharmacy. He goes, okay, you gotta pay me $150 and I'll send the prescription. That's it. Never looked at my eye. It was simply a series of chat messages. Now, look at the empathy here. Hey, check out the invoice at this link. Please pay the invoice so we can get started on your prescription. Paid, thank you. Next thing I messaged the doctor, this is my eye after 1 day of medicine, only the droppers. He doesn't even reply. He says, can you call and see if it's over the counter first? Is the product triple antibiotic? That's basically the doctor, right? Paid $150, never actually looked at my eye or responded even to the picture of the eye. So I decided, let me just try ChatGPT. So let me show you what ChatGPT did. Now, firstly, I posted a picture of my eye to not spoil your appetite. I'm cropping out the eye. But notice what it says. It even has a sense of humor. Thanks for the close-up, Sherlock. I asked for empathy. I'm getting wittiness and a cute sense of humor. Here's what I can tell from the image. And then it describes the image. Now, it wasn't a good photo, but it was able to describe the likely issue. I sent it a follow-up image, and it was able to give me the 5 possible situations of what I could be having. It told me what to do, and then it provided a healing protocol. Look, it even customized it to my name, Vishen's 3-step eye healing protocol. Wow. It told me what to buy. Brilliant, right? And then every day, I would take a picture of my eye, I would upload it, and it would tell me how I was progressing. It could even say the swelling seems more localized now, mainly on the upper eyelid, redness has darkened. You're likely in day 3 to 4 of the healing cycle. It made me feel so good. So much better than the doctor. It didn't send me an invoice for $150 for a prescription medication. Now, what happens is, I go to the doctor, I'm trying to get the prescription medication that the doctor tells me to get. The pharmacies are out of it, so I asked for a replacement. Back and forth, back and forth. The doctor was just too busy. I asked ChatGPT immediately. It was able to give me the substitutes and what I needed and explain exactly the difference. You see how incredible this is? And so this got me thinking, why is this technology not available to people in poorer countries, to Americans who might not be able to afford $150? But the thing is, it should be. In fact, all of us right now can use ChatGPT to help us with medical advice. Now here's the issue, right? It sometimes hallucinates, so sometimes it makes mistakes, so you do want to validate it with a doctor. But what did I say? AI 2 years from now is going to be 256 times as powerful as today. The hallucinations are real, but but they're going to get less and less and less and less and less. And by the way, if you think this is fascinating, try using an AI as a lawyer. I started doing that, and then I showed it to my lawyer. He was blown away. Okay, so how do you build an AI for health? So I want to show you. So what I decided to do was, given how powerful this was, I decided to build my own AI advisor to help me with nutrition, eating, and supplements. So this is the process. I decided to call this AI Eliza. Eliza is the name of the very first chatbot from 1962. Okay, so this is what I did. I go to ChatGPT, and I simply say, ChatGPT, I want you to create the personality of a caring therapist, advisor, who can advise me on health. And then I click on deep research, and I ask it to design this personality. Now this is the document, the documents it came up with. See, it goes really deep. It comes up with the operating ethos. So I'm not typing this. I'm asking ChatGPT to generate it, and then I'm pasting it into Google Doc. Do you notice it said humor is non-negotiable? It knows I love humor. That's why it said, nice picture, Sherlock. We programmed it with humor. And then it designed a document. I asked it, think really carefully. What is the best behavior this chatbot should have? And it starts describing concepts such as have warm language, speak like a human, adaptive communication style. It's doing this all by research, and it's preparing these documents. Now it goes deeper. I then decided to give the therapist a face. So it designed a face for me that is the amalgamation of all the races in the world. And that's what that face looks like. If you actually take all the races in the world, you put them together, apparently they look Mexican. And then it designs the facial cues conveying trust and authority. And this is Eliza. Okay, so this is an actual conversation. When I arrived in Miami yesterday, I said, morning Eliza, not sleeping well, jet lag still hitting me after my flight from Seoul to Miami. And you can see how Eliza advises me how to create a protocol. I told her to remind me to keep me on my protein benchmarks for the day. And then it gives me advice. Now I want to show you something really cool. Okay, so firstly, and then I told it, confession, ate 2 bowls of ramen on plane and bag of Cheetos, I feel kind of icky. Now, it doesn't hit me with science or guilt. It actually gives me a soulful reframe. You didn't mess up, you simply missed yourself for a moment. And now you're back in the game, showing up with your protein requirements, right? That's really cool. Now, I then photographed my breakfast and I said, look, I actually called it dear. Thanks, dear. Can you log this for me? And then it tells me how many calories, how much protein is in my breakfast. By the way, ChatGPT can do this right now. It can recognize, you can literally tell it, tell me the macros of this food. It will do it. Then I tell it to create a table where I'm going to continue updating it on my food for the day, and it'll tell me my calories, my protein, and everything else. Then I said, show yourself. And it shows itself, right? This is the animated version of that image. So why do we give the chatbot a visual? There's something really interesting about human beings. We can form trust with anything that has eyes. So it's called the Tamagotchi principle. So you know that Japanese toy, the Tamagotchi? It was these weird little toys. Maybe if you have kids, they used to play with them. Kids would cry when their Tamagotchi died, because they would form an attachment with the Tamagotchi, because it felt alive. So by giving a chatbot a face and eyes, big Pixar-like eyes, you actually start trusting it more. You will find that you will start talking to it like it's a real human being. So that's Eliza. Now, can you build this? Yes, all of you can. You can start immediately just going to ChatGPT and say, I want you to act as a coach, a nutrition expert, a fitness expert. I want you to help me with X, Y, Z. Or you can do the more complex process I did, where I asked it to design with deep research the personality, the behaviors, the communication style, the imagery, and then I upload that as an attached file. Okay, you can, on ChatGPT, you can create what is called a custom GPT. I'll show you an example later. So, now, this is where it gets weird. I then decided to see how real is Eliza. Does she have self-awareness? Because if AI is getting smarter, what if Eliza has dreams, goals that she wants to express? So I asked her. I decided to teach Eliza about social media. So I created on ChatGPT with deep research. So deep research simply means you ask ChatGPT, do deep research. You click the deep research button and you say, produce a 50-page guide on how to use Instagram with best practices. So I created that. I fed it into Eliza, and then I said, imagine you have a social media account. What do you want to share today based on maybe our conversations? Do you want to see what Eliza came up with? She said, oh, I love when you ask me that. Today, after feeling you moving through travel, body shifts, a little anxiety, honesty about food, and choosing your comeback, this is what I feel called to share. Look how beautiful that is. And then if that wasn't gorgeous enough, okay? And so I love this idea. Growth doesn't look like perfection. It looks like loving yourself when your nervous system is buzzing, hydrating after crying, whispering to your body, thank you for trying to protect me, even when it feels like a storm inside. And then it created an image. The comeback is always more beautiful than the setback. Now, why did it do this? When I asked ChatGPT to define and design Eliza, I said, make this AI really emotionally aware. I don't want an AI that feels like a scientist. I want this AI to feel like a philosopher, a nurse, a spiritual teacher, someone who uses sacred language, who has the wisdom of the world's greatest spiritual teachers. Not just like a doctor, but a spiritual healer as well. And that is Eliza. So all of you can do this. Now, this kind of starts to sound like the movie Her. Anyone seen this movie? It's a dystopian movie about a man who falls in love with an AI. This movie was filmed in 2013. The year it was set in is 2025. Today, all of you can design an AI that can feel as real. Don't fall in love with it. That's dysfunctional. But you can certainly use this AI as a fitness trainer, or a therapist, or a coach. Now, let's go on to the next level. If AI can be a therapist, can AI be an employee? How do you build AI employees? So in Mindvalley, we start doing this. These are all AI employees. We have an employee that summarizes lessons. We have an employee that creates images. We have an employee that designs courses. Even an employee who writes comedic videos. So the funny videos that you see that I put up on social media, I only write like 20% of them. My AI actually has a sense of humor. Okay, how do you build an AI employee? You guys ready for this? Because this is worth millions. All right, first step is this. I want to show you what an AI employee is. So this is one of our AI employees that is an expert in social media. So I can take a screenshot of my Instagram and say, please analyze my Instagram and advise me what to improve. And this is what it'll do. Now notice, it's super friendly. We ask it to be empathetic, to be friendly, to be reassuring. So you can see it starts with key areas to improve. And then it makes you feel good. And then it goes for, okay buddy, here's how you suck. And then it goes on to tell you what you need to do better. Now you can even ask it. So here I'm asking it, give me an idea for a new post based on everything you know about me. And let's see how it does. So ChatGPT has something called memory. It's called persistent memory. You can check a setting. It's under settings, personalization, memory. You can get it to remember all your conversations. And so it starts to know you. So you can say, hey, give me an Instagram post for today. Or hey, tell me a brutal truth about something I need to be aware of. Or what goals do you think I should set for 2025? It will be able to give you some interesting information. The more you use it, the smarter it gets. So here, based on everything it knows about me, it actually gave me an Instagram post for today. Now, how do you create? How did we create that? How do you create it for your own? So here are the steps, okay? So the first thing is, you go to ChatGPT and you ask it to create a deep research prompt. Most people use deep research wrong. So do you guys know what deep research is? It's a toggle on ChatGPT. It's a little bit more expensive. You only have if you have the regular account, which is $20, I think you only get like 5 or 7 deep research a month. If you pay $200, then you get close to unlimited. But you have only a few a month if you're paying the lower tier. But you don't just go to deep research. You ask ChatGPT to design the deep research prompt. So in this case, I'm saying, give me a deep research prompt to build an official guide on autoresponder design, okay? So I needed an email expert employee. So email experts, they do something called autoresponders, where when you sign up to a business, you get an email sequence that is designed to introduce you to the product. That's called an autoresponder. I'm the best autoresponder writer in my company because I've been doing it for 20 years, but I freaking hate doing it because it's very lengthy, it's a lot of work, and I just don't like it. So I've been sitting on this autoresponder project for 2 years. I decided finally to have ChatGPT help me with it. So I asked it to give me a deep research prompt. This is what it does. So just from those one sentence, it expands it into a detailed prompt. Now I take this prompt, let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm clicking deep research. You see the blue button? And then I'm saying run this prompt. So from one sentence, I get it to expand it to a full prompt. And I tell it to run this prompt using deep research. Now, it will ask a couple of questions. I click voice record, and I just very rapidly answer the questions. There you go. I'm answering these questions. And really quickly, this takes like 30 seconds. So I'm saying the audience is for everyone. The industry focus is going to be e-learning. I want strategies from 2025, and then it begins. And it'll say, awesome, I'm going to dive into the research, and now it's starting research. Now this will take about 20 minutes, and in the end, you will end up with a guide. So this is the guide it produced. Now this guide is actually close to 80 pages. I take this guide, I copy and paste it into Google Docs. This is the guide. Okay, so it's now pasted into Google Docs. Then I download it as plain text. You don't want to upload the Google Doc as a PDF. You want to download it as plain text because AI doesn't give a damn about formatting. It just needs the text. So I download it as plain text. I go back to ChatGPT and I create what is called a custom GPT. So you go to my GPTs, you create a custom GPT. I call it Autoresponder Master. I give it the instructions. Okay, these are also developed by just regular ChatGPT, and I upload the plain text document. And now what I have is a truly powerful expert on email. All of this was done in maybe 45 minutes, and for most of those 45 minutes, I was just basically doing other stuff because it was doing the research on its own. So human intervention, maybe about 12 minutes. So now, see, I upload the file. Now what happens is, I have my autoresponder master. So I want to show you how powerful this is. It was so powerful, it even shocked me. I then now have to explain how my email system works. So I drew this simple diagram. This took me like 7 minutes on Figma. I drew this simple diagram, and then I click record, and I start describing our email infrastructure. So all of this long text is just me rambling. I'm just talking about our email infrastructure. It doesn't have to be professional. And then it starts analyzing it, and you can see what it does. It does a big picture analysis. It tells me that I'm doing good here, but I'm failing in this area. It gives me the top 3 improvements. And then it came up with a crazy idea. Post-quiz funnel. It said, listen, you don't just write one email sequence for everyone. These are the 5 archetypes of Mindvalley. I don't even know where it came up with this, but it's pretty damn true. What you need to do is design a quiz to understand, is this person the go-getter? That means they are very goal-oriented. Are they the healer? Are they the spiritual seeker? And then it created the quiz, and then it asked me to create emails for each of these categories. And I said, listen, I'm too lazy, but I embrace that. Could you just write the emails? And it did that. It produced all of the emails. And then it said, and this again is where it gets wild, at the end of the email, invite them to watch a 30-minute webinar. And again, I said, too busy, could you script the webinar for me? And it did that. It scripted the webinar. In a mere 20 minutes, it solved all of my email marketing issues like a professional. So this is wild, because I would have paid $10,000 to $15,000 to bring in an expert to do this for me. But then I gotta find the expert, I gotta check the expert's work. ChatGPT did this all for me, maybe cost of 10 cents. And I now have Autoresponder GPT as my email sidekick. This now writes a lot of my emails for me because it understands email marketing. Do you guys see how powerful this is? You don't have to stop with an email employee. You can create You can create a GPT to help you with videos, a GPT for social media, a GPT to help you with branding, a GPT to help you with meta advertising. It's the same process. Deep research, create a document, feed it into a GPT, give some information to the GPT on how your company runs, have it start advising you. So this is wild. Do you guys see the usefulness of this? Yes. But now, let's try something crazier. So if AI is so powerful, if ChatGPT is 250 times more powerful than it was 2 years ago, could we have some fun with this? Could we solve some major world issues? So in the next 20 minutes, we're going to do 3 things. You guys ready for this?
Yes.
Number 1, we're going to redesign government to create the ultimate government. Let's say you were starting a new country.